Gotta love how things work there. Hello, everybody. Welcome into Tiger Talks Wrestling. I'm your host, Tony. Of course, joined by the final boss himself, Eddie. Welcome into the show, my friend.
Hey, man, how are you? Today is a beautiful day. The Yankees beat the Seattle Mariners. Now they're going on this West Coast trip, and it's like, why do I stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning? It's because I love my team. And then
Right.
our former president is going into the South Bronx around, well, he's there now. He's going to be at Katona Park in the Bronx, which I used to go to Katona Park. Only thing I got to say to him is, good luck and run.
Probably good advice.
You
Of
know,
course, can't go without mentioning this man. Happy birthday, heavenly birthday to Bray Wyatt, of course, today.
only thing I got to say about Mr. Wyatt is happy birthday and follow the buzzards.
Amen. WWE has announced that Uncle Howdy and whatever else going on with that is going to be taking over the WWE WhatsApp account, I do believe, here at 8 o'clock in a little less than an hour here. So they got something special they're going to be doing in memory of Bray Wyatt, it sounds like, as well over there. We'll still be here, but we'll check that out eventually at some point too. But we are here for our second half of the King of the Ring retrospective. We left off last week talking about 93 through 97. I mean, we talked about everything, the King of the Rings that happened before the pay-per-view itself debuted. But, of course, the last one we mentioned, 1997, King of the Ring, back when Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, was crowned the King of the Ring, defeating Mankind in the finals with a little help from China. A year after when Triple H was originally supposed to win the King of the Ring because of the whole curtain call situation. And that'll bring us in. Oh, we will be joined by John at some point in time for anybody watching who might be concerned. But we're going to get rolling while we're waiting on him. He's just running a little behind today.
We all are.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Love the buzzards. All right. But we're going to jump into things. We go to 1998. King of the Ring. Of course, you see Sable on the poster for King of the Ring 1998. Off with their heads, the guillotine and all. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Civic Arena hosted 17,087 people for this edition of the King of the Ring. Jump into the tournament here. We'd have the semifinals and finals at the pay-per-view. Leading into it, The Rock beat Vader in the first round. Triple H beat X-Pac by countout. Owen Hart made Scorpio, Too Cold Scorpio, I don't know why it just says Scorpio, submit to the sharpshooter. D'Lo Brown got submitted by Dan the Beast Severin. There's a name you don't see too often. The Lethal Weapon, Ken Shamrock, submitted Kama Mustafa, I'm sure, with the ankle lock. The World's Strongest Man, Mark Henry, defeated Terry Funk. Wow, that's interesting. That had been when Mark was just starting out, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Jarrett defeated Farouk, and Marvelous Mark Marrow, the Wild Man, defeated Steve Blackman. Then in the quarterfinals, we go to The Rock defeating Triple H. So the quarterfinals was where the reigning King of the Ring got eliminated. Owen Hart got beat by Dan Severin by submission. Ken Shamrock pinned Mark Henry. That's a shocker because Ken Shamrock usually won with that ankle lock more so than anything else. And Jeff Jarrett would beat Mark Marrow, which will lead us into the semifinals we'll get into here in a little bit. There's some names in there that were definitely new to WWF at the time. Dan the Beast Severin, Ken Shamrock, Mark Henry was brand new at that point in time. Kind of a little bit of an influx with Dan the Beast Severin and Ken Shamrock of trying to get some of these UFC guys. This is pretty much when the UFC guys started making their jumps over to the WWE.
Yep. I mean, that was, well, if you compare the UFC back then to now, it was a whole together 360. It was it was more like outlawish back then, but a lot of red flags about it. But now it's like a global phenomenon,
Indeed.
and especially when you talk about Dan the Beast Severin, the match with D'Lo Brown, he stretched him out so much. That's when D'Lo got his pecs tore.
Oh yeah, it was, and then you seen D'Lo wear that chest protector for years.
Yep, for like 2 years. I'm like, man, that must have been a really bad break.
I know, right?
But it was an okay tournament. When you had, I think the one that was really a no-brainer was Triple H and X-Pac, because they were trying to do the Nation and DX, so that was a thing. The tournament was a little like lackluster because they only did the semifinals and finals on TV at the pay-per-view, so it wasn't a star-studded because you got some new faces.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. So when you look at the actual pay-per-view itself, they start with a 6-man tag team match, as you had the Headbangers and Taka Michinoku going up against Kai and Tai, Funaki, Men's Teo, and Dick Togo. I remember the whole, I think everybody remembers the whole rivalry with Taka Michinoku and the Kai and Tai. Of course, Val Venus would eventually get involved in that rivalry as well. So,
I cut your pee-pee.
Yep, I choppy your pee-pee.
I know. Mr. Amaguchi-san.
Yes.
May he rest in peace.
Agreed. Kai and Tai would take the loss to the Headbangers and Taka Michinoku here. Of course, Taka would eventually join Kai and Tai. And by the time that whole Val Venus situation came apart, the whole rivalry too. So it had been an interesting 6-man tag to kick off the show. You got mostly cruiserweights in there other than the Headbangers. I did see, I forgot, but I did see the Headbangers are going to be making their 2K debut here in one of the upcoming DLCs for WWE 2K24 as well. So
I think they are next month, or I know McAfee has his own one, but I think they're doing theirs next month, which will be really nice because this will be the Headbangers' first time in a WWE game since the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I believe it. I think it's nice to got the Dudley Boys back in there after a few years and not having them in a video game too.
Oh, most definitely.
All right. So in the next match, we would see the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, defeat Jeff Jarrett with Tennessee Lee as his manager by disqualification with the ankle lock. This, of course, was pretty much back in just after the roadie days for Jeff Jarrett. Still kind of the singer. The lackluster mid-card area was what Jeff Jarrett was getting, low to mid-card area for him in WWF at the time.
Yes, and this was also Jeff Jarrett's going back to his old persona after the the National Wrestling Alliance stable that James E. Cornette did,
right.
which was garbage, by the way, but they went with it.
True. Yeah.
And if people don't know who Tennessee Lee is, he is one of the greatest managers of all time in WCW. He is Colonel Rob Parker.
Yes, he was.
And he managed a who's who of great competitor and Hall of Famers. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yep.
He managed Ming. He managed Harlem Heat. He managed Bunkhouse Buck and Dirty Dick Slater.
Yep.
And Arn Anderson in the Stud Stable. And and then he managed the Quebecers.
Get them.
I know he managed some other guys, but I forgot who they were. But that's who of great managers that he did some other guys. He managed some other guys, but I forgot who they were.
Yeah, they can look it up. Yeah, he had a short run, I want to say, in WWE because he's mostly known for his WCW time.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ken Shamrock getting that almost 5.5 minute victory over Jeff Jarrett to get to finals would be followed by The Rock making kind of quick work, about 4.5 minutes, 4:25, beating Dan the Beast Severn. So instead of you getting two Ultimate Fighters in the finals, you got The Rock versus Ken Shamrock in the finals, which would lead to quite the rivalry that those two men would have.
Definitely. I mean, you go back to the history of The Rock and Ken Shamrock. I mean, that was some nail-biting matches between them two, and Dan Severn, no offense, hell, even Vince Russo didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
I mean, Russo didn't know who the hell he was half of the time.
It's true.
I mean, and the music that they gave Dan the Beast Severn, everybody else had this nice and clean. Then Dan the Beast Severn had this dun, 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 dun. Like, what the hell?
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Somebody who I'm sure you'll hear when we do shows like this, but I don't think you'll see Dan Severn's name pop up in a WWE video game or any other WWE related things, more than likely at any point in time. But I digress.
Maybe in a UFC game.
Maybe.
All
right. From there, we'll get into the finals later, of course, in the show. After that, you got Too Much at that point in time, they were known as. Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor, we'll get into who they eventually will become if people don't know, would defeat Al Snow and Head with Jerry the King Lawler as a special guest referee. Now, this is interesting because, of course, Jerry Lawler was the dad of Brian Christopher. Also, may he rest in peace. Took him from us way too early. But, of course, Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor would eventually become Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty Too Hottie as well, for most people would remember.
Okay, first of all, you got me upset. Jerry Lawler and Brian Christopher were not son and father. It never said his name was not Lawler, it was Christensen. So you got to get it right. People always get that wrong.
Sure.
It used to make me laugh with every time that you hear Jerry Lawler and JR say, "Oh, there's your baby boy. He's not my baby boy, damn it. Stop saying that." I mean, it was some good, and yes, Grandmaster Sexy, left us too soon, and I think when he died, I think that destroyed Jerry Lawler. I mean, mental-wise, that he still, to this day, he can't figure out what happened to his baby boy, but it was a good team between him and Too Hot Scott Taylor, who will become Scotty Too Hottie.
Right.
I mean, what can you say about Too Cool? They were basically a great tag team. They didn't get up to the notch because you had the Outlaws, but
yeah,
what a great team. And what can you say about Al Snow? At least he wasn't called Leaf Cassidy.
Right. But I mean, his tag team partner was ahead, so
yeah.
What does everybody want?
Head.
Can you believe he got away with that back then?
I gotta tell you a story. My grandfather, when Al Snow used to come out here, he said, "What does everybody want?" And I said, "Hen." My grandfather used to live at. That is disgusting. You are with your grandparents and you are with me and your grandmother, and you're talking about getting head from somebody. That I'm like, it's on a wrestling show. Calm down.
Right.
You know.
That would be great.
My grandfather, and this is the time around the NWO. My grandfather used to be like, "Yeah, kid." My grandfather said that wrestling was fake, but when it came to the NWO, he used to get so mad and walk out and sit on the porch. I can't stand Hulk Hogan. Where is his morals? You know, like I'm like, and I go out and I go, "You just told me it's fake." I know it's fake, but damn it, Hulk Hogan's supposed to be this real American. Now he's just a bitch.
Well,
well, not of course he is now, but you know.
I know, right?
You know, but you know, I miss him every day. My grandfather, you know, I mean, the man went to a WWE live event at Madison Square Garden, and I was talking to some of my friends that know me, and he said, "Oh, I can't wait for the match between Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton in the Swallows match." I'm like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Right. I'm like, do they like me? I'm like, "Yeah, but you just acting weird. Get away from me."
Right.
You know, but hands down, you know, it's always good to go somewhere with one of your grandparents that never been to wrestling, and the only thing he talks about was you know, Bruno Sammartino and High Stack Calzone. I can never say his name.
Haystacks Calhoun.
Yeah, I used to say Haystack Calzone.
I knew it.
But yeah, let's move on. I'm sorry. It just brought my
good.
with my grandfather around this time.
Yeah, no, that's expected for this kind of a show.
Yeah.
All right. Surprisingly, Al Snow actually looked like he had the win. I remember at times during that match, but King would get involved and help too much win. We moved from there. You got X-Pac with China beating Owen Hart. As you mentioned earlier, this whole DX versus the Nation thing there. Owen was a de facto member pretty much of the Nation. I mean, he's the only white guy, well, other than Jason, Jason, I guess, was technically with DX. So, yeah, Owen was kind of the only white guy there really in DX or in NWO. Wow, you got me all over the place now. Talking about these factions.
I know. Woo! With the Nation
rather. Owen was the only white guy really in the Nation of Domination.
I always felt like he was out of place. Like they just shoved him in there because they didn't know what to do with him.
I always felt like what?
I always felt like they put him in there because they had no idea what to do with him because Owen was a technical genius, and they put him into a group because he didn't want to be like, it was the Attitude Era. He didn't want to do something disgusting because he was a family man, and I think they just shoved him in there because they didn't know. But what a right guy to be a part of the Nation when you have all these young guys in there. You got you got the Godfather, D-Lo, Mark Henry, and even The Rock. You know, having Owen Hart in there to teach you how to act on camera is a blessing in disguise.
Right. I mean, this wasn't peak Owen Hart character-wise, but still Owen, as you mentioned, was a technical wizard in the ring. He put on great matches all the time, pretty much. Him and X-Pac had a really good match here. I remember that very, very well. A little surprising X-Pac would get the win, but that's the way they went with it. I feel like DX kind of got the upper hand on the Nation more often than not in that rivalry, but
yeah, they did. But the funny part about that, we got these parodies of the Nation, and
yes,
I mean, they were, especially with Jason Sensation doing Owen Hart with that big ass nose. I
yep,
mean,
that.
that was some funny stuff.
Yes, it was. All right, we go from there. The WWF Tag Team titles would be on the line as you got the New Age Outlaws with China defending against and successfully retaining them over the Midnight Express. This version of the Midnight Express was Bodacious Bart, aka Bart Gunn, and Bombastic Bob, who we'd grow to know as Hardcore Holly, of course, with James E. Cornette as their manager.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. New Age Outlaws retained.
I don't. I think we will have to do a separate show about how much I hate Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Jim Cornette. Great manager, great mind of the wrestling world, but stop living in the 80s.
Very true. Even in the 90s, you could tell he was still living in the 80s.
Yeah, and let's say this before we move on to the finals. Cornette irritated me because he made one guy in Bart and Hardcore Holly. He made both guys into the dynamic dudes.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I think we knew when the Smoking Guns broke up that B.A. Billy Gunn was better than Bart. And
right.
then you had that crappy brawl for all after this.
Yep.
And Hardcore Holly became a thing after this, and James G. Cornette became a bitch after this. You know. So yeah. The other thing I liked about this when Jerry Law was on commentating and JR said to him, "Hey, look, the Gun's got 2 words for you." And he's like, "Whoa, what is it?" And then Billy goes, "I got 2 words for you. Suck it." And he goes, "Damn, Ross, what the hell is that all about?" You know, so it's like, but the Outlaws were hot. I mean,
they were.
Hell, still to this day, the New Age Outlaws are still hot. I mean, I bet if Road Dogg comes out and do his thing, I think he'd be hot. And then we can't forget Daddy Ass.
Of course.
You know, and then China, may she rest in peace. You know, if China was still around, I think she would have been doing something with WWE, and I miss her every day.
Yeah, Joni's definitely missed, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so then we move into the finals of the King Tournament. 14-minute match just over, and it come to Ken Shamrock forcing The Rock to tap out to the ankle lock as we got Ken Shamrock as the 1998 King of the Ring. Looking back at this now, all these years later, would you have booked Ken Shamrock to go over there, or do you think that The Rock went over and been the King of the Ring?
Okay, so I would. Still to this day, I would still have Ken Shamrock win the 98 King of the Ring. Because look at what happened to The Rock a couple of months down the road. Deadly Game Survivor Series.
True.
Becomes the World Wrestling Federation champion. I mean, I don't think The Rock would have needed it because he was already at that point getting over with the crowd. But if that didn't work out, yes, I would have had The Rock win it and catapult. If he didn't turn heel and still with that damn baby face, then I would have made him it. But I think they got this right to put Ken Shamrock because he was a fuddy-duddy. His promos were shit.
True.
His promos were shit, but the guy could tear down a match like no tomorrow.
Right.
But I give it up to WWE to put the crown on Ken Shamrock, and he didn't get a world title shot, but
no, unfortunately not.
It was a lackluster going forward, but they did a good job, and I think they got it right.
So to me, on the Ken Shamrock part, I have always thought that he was one of those guys that should have been WWE champion at one point or another. He's won the NWA championship, the TNA Impact Championship, whatever you want to call it there. But I just always felt like they could have done so much more with Ken than what they did in WWF, because it felt like he was really over at one point in time with the crowd. And the only thing they gave him was the King of the Ring win and the Intercontinental Championship on like 2 occasions, I think, or something like that. Yeah. And then eventually, not long after this, they'd turn him heel and have him join the Ministry as well.
And the tag team titles too.
Yeah, he'd be tag team champion too.
With Boss Man.
But that's me. I always thought he was good enough that over enough with the crowd that they should have strapped him at one point. But
well, look at the Attitude Era. It was always the big guys. Vince wanted somebody at the helm that was going to push the envelope in the ratings.
True. I guess makes sense, but
yeah.
All right, we'll move past that because then you got one of the most iconic Hell in a Cell matches of all time. This wasn't the first Hell in a Cell match. This was the second, I think.
It was the second.
Definitely the most iconic because how could anybody forget what The Undertaker did to poor Mick Foley in this match? And how much of a nutcase Mick was in this match, for that matter. I mean, you go first, these two men start outside the cell, on top of the cell, fighting it out, and Taker throws Mick off the edge of the cell through the table, the announce table, and JR, of course, mentioning, he's dead! He killed him! Let me say this part, of course, as well. Undertaker has stated since then he did go into this match, I believe, with a broken foot. So neither one of these two guys was really fully 100% going into the match. But when you start the match that way, fighting on top of the cell and Undertaker chucking Mankind, Mick Foley, off the cell through the announce table below, incredible start. And I mean, technically that wasn't, the match hadn't even begun yet because they hadn't been inside the cell. The bell hadn't rung.
Go through the match, and then I'll tell you what my opinion is, because there's more to this that people don't know.
There is so much that happened in this great match. Like we said, mentioning JR saying he's dead. They thought for sure Mick was destroyed, done for at that point. Come out with the stretcher. hook Mick up on top of the stretcher. Terry Funk even comes out there to wheel out his good friend Mick Foley. And Mankind eventually, after the Undertaker's down and gets inside the ring, Mankind's crazy enough, he actually gets off the stretcher, gets back into the... Well, sorry, no, not back in the ring. On top of the cell. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Gets back up to the top of the cell again, and this time gets a choke slam through the top of the cell and through the ring. And still, technically, I don't think the match was really officially underway. But at that point, then you get everybody coming into the cell to try and check on Mick. Undertaker does come down, and I think does more damage to his foot with the landing into the ring off the part of the cell. But that would lead to Terry Funk getting in there and getting himself a choke slam from the Undertaker right out of his shoes. And then we'd finally eventually get the match underway. Mankind would continue a hell of a match inside the cell. I mean, just everything that happened even before the match technically began was incredible enough. This match technically only lasted 7 minutes, 17:38 is what the time shows on there, but I don't know if that's counting the stuff on top of the cell or not, but I'm pretty sure the bell hadn't even rung until they both were in the ring. But anyway, we'd seen thumbtacks get involved. It was a bloody mess, really, between these two, and the Undertaker would eventually pick up the win over Mankind. But this match had to have taken so much time off the careers of both Mick Foley and the Undertaker.
I remember watching this live on pay-per-view. First thing I thought was like, what the fuck did Mick Foley just do? I mean, the man was 280 pounds flying into the, and I'm not saying that motherfucker didn't like do a light breeze. That motherfucker came up and hit the Spanish announce table that Hidalgo and Minnie fell down like somebody hit him with checkers.
Right?
I said this to myself because I rewatched that match yesterday.
Oh, did you?
I'm going to tell you this. If you look at Mick Foley's career before this match, Mick Foley was going to be a mid-carder or either fired from a company.
Yeah.
This match made Mick Foley a main eventer.
Oh, I would agree completely.
And if a guy puts his body the way he did and gets off, I don't know how many feet he was because it said 15 feet high. I think it was more than 15 feet high.
Probably 20 or more.
Yeah. Mick Foley that night made himself a main eventer. And the Undertaker should get a lot of credit too, because doing something that to a friend and throw him off just to get ratings, it's astonishing. And then Mick Foley getting up and then going back into the ring, and basically, if that chair didn't go down before him, I think Mick Foley would not be here today. I mean,
probably not.
Mick Foley, still to this day, and this is what, 30-something years?
Yeah, it's 20-something years, but yeah.
Yeah, 20-something years, Mick Foley said he is still feeling the effects of this match.
Yeah, I believe it.
And the one iconic, well, other than Terry Funk coming out of his shoes, I mean,
right?
Yeah, but the iconic moment with Mick was when his tooth was in his nose.
Yeah. That's for sure. And he'd put his tongue through where his tooth used to be at one point during that match too, and you could see that it was gone. Crazy visuals all around throughout that match.
I still to this day can't figure out how Mick Foley is still alive.
Right?
I mean, then after this, if you go, we're not going to do it because it's past. Let's go all the way to No Way Out 2000 or whatever pay-per-view that was. Mick Foley was in another Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
This time with Triple H.
Triple H. Yes.
Same move. That motherfucker broke the ring.
Yeah.
Mick Foley, hands down, is one of the toughest son of bitches, and that's why I still think this match made him a main eventer and made him a WWE Hall of Famer. I wish he did it another way, but
Right.
Mick Foley is not. Mick Foley is a hardcore legend, and if anybody, I mean, if you look at I say this, that my top 5 hardcore legends, you got to go with Middle Age and Crazy and Terry Funk.
Of course.
Mick Foley. Then you go down to Sabu.
Right.
And then Sandman and then Tommy Dreamer. I mean, if there's anybody else, figure out who that is because there's not a lot of hardcore legends. Oh, RVD too, yeah. But RVD never threw himself off the fucking thing. I'm like,
he did crazy shit with ladders though.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Mick Foley threw himself off a fucking Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
You know, if he would have did it, if Mick Foley was in his prime and did it in this version of the Hell in a Cell, it would not hurt that much.
Right.
You know.
For sure. I would argue, and some people might argue the fact here, but I would arguably say this was the greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time. Still to this day.
Most definitely. A lot of people always think the first one was a great one with Shawn versus Taker for Bad Blood to face Brett at Survivor Series.
Right.
No. This one was good, and then you got a couple. Then you got a couple of them. You know, you got the one with the Undertaker, another Undertaker signing. Throw Rikishi off the cell into a truck of hay.
Yeah, that 6-pack challenge on a cell match.
I mean, you got half of the Hell in the Cells were with the Undertaker.
Yep, that is true.
And still to this day, if you look at the Undertaker and you look at anybody else that faced the Undertaker, I still to that day that the Undertaker has some nicks, but the other ones look like hell.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But yeah, we can talk more about the Hell in a Cell and another thing, but yeah, this one was I'm sorry, but I feel like this match stole the pay-per-view.
No, I completely agree. When you're Stone Cold Steve Austin and you're Kane, you watch that match. How do you not feel? How are we supposed to top that?
Yeah. Steve Austin has said in interviews when he was watching that match in the back, he looked at Vince and he goes like, how the fuck do you expect me to go on after this?
Right?
And Vince just looked at him and says, do what you can.
That's all you pretty much could do at that point. I mean, the only thing they had going for them, I guess, technically in that main event was it was a first blood match, but still, you were doomed no matter what after that Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. They could have flip-flopped it and made this the main event, but the champion goes on last. But what a way to like say to the champ, hey, we're gonna take your spotlight tonight, and we're gonna we're gonna help WWF destroy WCW. I even feel like this pay-per-view even helped the WWE in the Monday Night Wars.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
Because at this time you had two NWOs.
Yeah, you're right. The Wolfpack was a thing at that point. So
Yeah.
in '98.
Yep. And this was coming off the Sting lost the title to Randy Savage, and then Hogan won it from the next night on Nitro. Hogan beat Savage because of the help of Bret Hart. And, you know, it was and then you had two NWOs, the Wolfpack, and I think this is the time when Luger was joining the New World Order. And then Sting joining
Wolfpack and Sting.
Yeah, so I think WWE told WCW to kiss their ass this night in Pittsburgh.
Pretty much. Look at that. The main event, of course, we'll get into real quick. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin defending the WWF Championship in a first blood match. Had Kane lost, he would had to have set himself on fire. But we'd get The Undertaker and Mankind coming back out to being factors in this main event match. And even though technically Stone Cold, I believe, had Kane bleeding a little bit first, the referee didn't see it, and Kane would, with a little bit of help from Undertaker, actually, in an errant chair shot. He was aiming for Kane, but hit Stone Cold, and Stone Cold would be bleeding all over the place, almost as bad as it was in that submission match with Bret. Referee would see that, and Kane would become, for the first time at that point, the WWF champion.
And it didn't last long because he lost it the next night on Raw.
I know. This all would lead into, of course, SummerSlam. It'd lead to the formation of the Brothers of Destruction, really, in the long run. Undertaker and Kane together, they would have their triple threat match with Austin at one point in time, of course, as well, all leading to that Survivor Series tournament that we mentioned with The Rock earlier today.
Yep, and I remember that Highway to Hell. The theme was Highway to Hell, and Mick Foley and Kane went on to win the tag team titles from the Outlaws.
Yes, they did.
And then I remember because I was actually at that event. You know, so it was at the Garden, so I was there. But yeah, and that's when the Austin beat in that great ladder match with The Rock and Triple H for the Intercontinental title.
Hey, John, welcome.
Hi.
What up?
You know, I'm just part of, just chilling on the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, so it's pretty good.
Oh, yes. Yes. So,
shirts.
So are you gonna date Dirty Dom?
Huh?
Are you gonna date Dirty Dom?
No.
Okay, good.
Why would I date Dirty Dom when I have Rhea Ripley in the next room?
Oh, yeah, don't mess with mommy.
Exactly.
I got the finger for messing with this stuff. I mean, anyway, we're just finishing up talking about the 1998 King of the Ring, which of course had the greatest match in my opinion, greatest Hell in a Cell match of all time in my opinion, between Taker and Mankind. Of course, Ken Shamrock winning the King of the Ring tournament that night, Kane winning the WWF Championship for his first reign. Anything you want to mention about the 1998 King of the Ring and the Hell in a Cell match before we move on to 99?
Still one of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time. I mean, that match really made Mankind it like really opened up people's eyes to the wrestler that he could have been. That he is, that he could be with all the potential. If it wasn't for that match, there wouldn't be the Mankind that we all know today.
Agreed. Eddie was just saying the same thing pretty much. So that's why he's giving you the fireworks.
Hey, so that question you asked me about Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
See what John
directed to John. Looking back at it now, at least 6 years later almost, do you feel like it was the correct call to have Ken Shamrock win the King of the Ring tournament here, or do you think The Rock should have been the one to win the tournament?
I mean, personally, I think The Rock should have won, but I feel like with The Rock losing, made him more of a villain, which persona into the character he had going. So having The Rock win would have probably jeopardized what they were doing with The Rock. So it was the right move for Shamrock to win. And that's why you're asking.
You two jump places.
I think John listened to what I said. I think John listened to what I said because I'm like, look at what happened to The Rock after that. He became the WWE champion at the Survivor Series.
Right. For sure. I always felt like at the time The Rock should have been the one to win it, but yeah, looking back at it, I'd kind of agree with you guys. And like I said to Eddie, I was a big fan of Ken Shamrock back then. I felt like they could have put the WWE Championship on him at one point, but because of how over he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those wrestlers that it's heartbreaking to see that they never won that the main championship with all the potential that a certain person had. They should have been a world champion.
Right.
There's a lot of guys, like, I agree with John. There's a lot of guys who should have been world champion. Like, you got Owen, you got the Bulldog. I mean,
Bam Bam Bigelow.
ECW champion, Bam Bam
Bigelow. From
Bigelow.
of course.
You know, there were some guys I thought that really, and please, I'm not going to say, oh, maybe Barry Horror should have been an Intercontinental champion. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and speaking of 98, the one that really got me was when Pat Patterson slapped Sable in the ass.
Yeah, that happened.
I know but without Pat Patterson, there's no Rico gimmick.
Oh no! Oh no!
You went there.
I did go there.
Hell, there would not be a Royal Rumble.
That is true. All right, let's move on to the 1999 King of the Ring from Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. 20,108 people, I think, was the most attended King of the Ring probably at that point. Leading up to the pay-per-view. This one we'd actually get the quarterfinals, semis, and finals at. But he's laughing. Uh-oh.
It's
you
this
get
one.
Billy Gunn beating Viscera. You get Billy Gunn beating Viscera in the first round match. Ken Shamrock would beat Jeff Jarrett by submission. Draز would get beat by Big Show in his first time in the King of the Ring tournament as he had just debuted in WWE. Test would get beat by Kane. Road Dogg over Godfather. Chyna beat Val Venus. Yes, Chyna beat Val Venus. Al Snow would get beat by Hardcore Holly, and the Big Boss Man would lose to X-Pac in the opening round. Holy crap. They had technically 5 dark matches. 4 of them on Heat. Sunday Night Heat.
Heat?
Yeah.
I forgot when that was a thing.
Right. So then we'll jump into the quarterfinals. You got X-Pac beating Hardcore Holly by disqualification. Let me set up the scene before we get too far into this, though. This point in time, 1999, was, of course, pretty much around here was the dissolution, if you will, or the dissolution of D-Generation X. We still had like Road Dogg and X-Pac were still a thing, but Billy had left DX. Triple H was no longer with DX. Chyna was gone from DX. So this was a very DX heavy, or at least those people that were in DX heavy show of this King of the Ring, but there wasn't technically a D-Generation X, more so than there was at that point. So wasn't quite as much of a thing. This would also be the first time we'd see Kane and the Big Show really go against each other, as Kane would beat Big Show in the second quarterfinal match. We got Billy Gunn beating Ken Shamrock, the defending King of the Ring, by referee stoppage. And the Road Dogg would defeat Chyna with Triple H in the final first round match. So, quite an interesting quarterfinals to start off the King of the Ring pay-per-view. As you got the New Age Outlaws, two tag teams really that would advance to the semifinals, or eventual tag teams. The New Age Outlaws, and of course X-Pac and Kane, we'd know would be a tag team at a point as well. We got from there the Hardy Boys making their actual in-ring debut, really, King of the Ring wise, with Michael Hayes would defeat the Brood, Edge and Christian, with Gangrel to become the number one contenders for the WWF Tag Team titles. This was definitely, I believe it was pretty much the first time we'd see the Hardys versus Edge and Christian in any way, shape, or form. But the start of one hell of a rivalry, that's for sure.
Still part of one of the best ladder matches. Those two teams, and then I think it was the Dudleys as well.
Yep.
Still one of the best ladder matches of all time.
Oh, yeah. Even the best TLC matches of all time as well, so.
Yeah.
Billy Gunn, of course, would defeat Kane in the semifinals. X-Pac would defeat Road Dogg, leading into Billy and X-Pac going into the finals. And you got The Undertaker, who in 1999, correct me if I'm wrong here, would be leading the Ministry of Darkness at that point in time. With Paul Bearer in his corner, would defeat The Rock to retain the WWF Championship. Definitely a different persona of The Undertaker at that point than what we had been accustomed to the years prior, of course. But maybe one of the best versions of The Undertaker, really, at that point in time.
Most definitely. The Lord of Darkness.
Yes.
What's The Undertaker's issue with Samoans? Let's be realistic here.
Well, that's just because he chokeslammed Rock again this year at WrestleMania. That's the only reason you say that.
I'd be more concerned if he
yes.
didn't chokeslam Rock.
I know, right? The issues he had with Yokozuna and all the rest of them. So that would lead us into the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. You got Billy Gunn beating X-Pac. Before I go into the main event match, though, what did you guys think about this 1999 King of the Ring tournament overall?
It's definitely in my top 5 favorite King of the Ring tournaments, just because
really
it was one of those where you didn't know exactly who was going to win. It felt like it could have been anyone in this tournament. It wasn't a clear cut.
I can see that, I guess. Eddie?
What's in that drink?
Good question.
What in the blue hell are you talking about? The King of the Ring, yes, it had a star-studded thing, but it was trash. We had a guy named Bob when the
My name's Billy.
Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what your name is. If I had a pick, I would have had Chyna won.
Right.
Chyna should have won. That
means she'd be the first King of the Ring for a woman. I mean, she was the first Intercontinental Champion down the road, but if it was me, I would have had Ken Shamrock repeat. Or
You could have made a case for some of the others, but
or Kane and the Big Show. It wasn't really that. They threw this shit together, basically, the way I felt it.
yeah, I'd agree. I
mean,
wasn't a huge fan of this tournament, this year's tournament.
I still say the better final match. If you're gonna have Billy win, it should have been Billy Gunn versus Road Dogg in the finals.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that would have fixed things.
No offense to X-Pac, because X-Pac is phenomenal, but
Right.
it just would have been a better storyline.
Because, I mean, this was pretty much right after the New Age Outlaws had disbanded anyways, if I remember correctly. Or they were setting to dismember. So why not have the two former tag team partners, two former tag team champions, go against each other in the finals of the King of the Ring? It would have made more sense.
Yeah, they could go back to their like old gimmicks. Rockabilly versus the Roadie.
Yeah, right?
I don't even know what the hell I was going to say, but oh my God. Let me ask you, I think if I'm right, was Kane and X-Pac the tag team champions by then, or was it Owen and Jarrett?
It's a good question. I want to say I think it was Kane and X-Pac, but I won't swear to it without looking it up.
Yeah.
Because even if that's the case, I mean, if you would have had the two tag team champions against each other in the final, that would have been interesting too. But to me, I feel like when you look at just the pay-per-views of the King of the Ring, this to me, when you look at the winner and what happened with the winner afterwards, was probably the second worst King of the Ring, personally. The worst, of course, being Mabel in '95. And you disagree?
No, I agree. I just
Okay.
I still think, yes, he should be a King of the Ring winner, but it should have been when he became Viscera.
Right.
As
Yeah,
Mabel,
I'm not saying
it was,
that. I'm just saying
it was
when you look at what.
It was the right thing, but at the wrong time.
Right. I'm just going off of what they did with the person after they won the King of the Ring, mostly.
Yeah.
Because these guys are these were the winners that I feel like were ones that are easily forgettable, if you want to put it that way, I guess. That's my opinion, anyway. The main event would see Vince and Shane defeat Stone Cold in a handicap ladder match for full control of the WWF, because at that point, Austin was the co-owner or something to that effect. I know there was some, I can't remember exactly how the storyline went, but Linda appointed Austin to take over her shares of the company or something along those lines, and Vince wasn't happy about it, of course.
I remember it was right after Stephanie got abducted by the Ministry of Darkness that Austin was waiting to find out who was the greater power, the head guy, and it was Vince McMahon under it, and then Linda and Stephanie came out and appointed Steve Austin as the co-owner of WWE and Vince, and that's when the ladder match came out.
Right. I remember Shane and Vince were both part of the ministry, the corporate ministry at that point in time. But
yeah,
Vince then revealed his higher power. It was a ladder match. It was a match that was the main event for whatever reason. Probably should have been Taker and Rock in the main event there, but hey, it's Vince, so he's got to have the main event, brother.
Yep.
All right. So that was the 99 King of the Ring.
I have a dumb question. Prince Albert is A-Train, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also Tensai.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just want to make sure. I was speaking to the right guy.
You're looking at the Sunday Night Heat matches.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also Mike Bloom.
And Val Venus is a tall guy.
Matt Bloom, Mike Bloom,
yes.
Whoever. Yeah, he's some guy. Yeah.
No, I hadn't even noticed that Brood and Hardy's match was actually happened twice that night because it was on the Sunday Night Heat and ended in a no contest first.
And that was for the number one contender of the tag titles?
Before it actually. Yeah, both times. On Sunday Night Heat, it was 1 minute and 28 seconds and ended in a no contest, and then you got the longer match on the pay-per-view, 4 minutes and 49 seconds. Still not a long match, but
still to this
it's like
day,
something must have went wrong with the Sunday.
Still to this day, I wish that Stone Cold Steve Austin would have won that ladder match and see if he could be the owner for like another 3 months. Because that shit was funny when him in the corporate office telling people, get me a beer, you know, and
what?
Yeah. Of course, before the what's, but yeah. All right, let's move on to 2000's King of the Ring. Of the year. Turn of the century. Oh. Boston, Massachusetts Fleet Center, 17,651 people on June 25th, 2000 would witness that year's King of the Ring. As we'll scroll down. As we get to quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals, as this year would have 32 people in the King of the Ring tournament. Probably the most people at that point as part of the King of the Ring. Kurt Angle would defeat Bradshaw in the round of 32, Bubba Ray Dudley over the Big Boss Man, Chris Jericho over Test, Edge beat Grandmaster Sexay, Crash Holly over Albert, Hardcore Holly would beat Farouk, Bull Buchanan, there's a name that doesn't get mentioned too often, beat Steve Blackman, Perry Saturn over Devon Dudley, Rikishi beat Shane McMahon by DQ, Scotty 2 Hotty beat D'Lo, Chris Benoit over Road Dogg, X-Pac over Dean Malenko, Val Venus beat Al Snow, Jeff Hardy beat Christian, imagine that, Eddie Guerrero beat Matt Hardy, and Chyna beat The Godfather in the round of 32. And in the round of 16 on TV, you get Kurt Angle beating Bubba Ray Dudley. Interesting that Kurt Angle would win both those matches by pinfall. He's the ankle lock, yep, then he was just using the ankle slam early on in his career, of course. Chris Jericho would beat Edge by submission, must have been with the walls. Crash Holly beat Hardcore Holly by DQ in the battle between the cousins. Bull Buchanan over Perry Saturn. Rikishi beat Scotty 2 Hotty in a battle between the two Cool members. Benoit beat X-Pac and by submission with the crossface. Val Venus beat Jeff Hardy, and Eddie Guerrero beat Chyna, leading to the pay-per-view proper. So interesting that they had 32 people involved, 31 men, 1 woman, of course, involved in this King of the Ring tournament. Not something, like I said, not something that had happened before then, I don't believe. So I'm not sure it has since, really. We'll find out. Then we kick off the King of the Ring pay-per-view with the quarterfinals. You got Rikishi beating Chris Benoit by disqualification. Val Venus with Trish Stratus in his corner at that point in time would defeat Eddie Guerrero with Chyna. Something I think that should have went the other way around because Eddie and Chyna were the more overact of the two at that point. Until out of this day, really. But Crash Holly would beat Bull Buchanan and Kurt Angle would beat Chris Jericho. What's your guys' opinions seeing those results going into the semifinals, as we'll get into in a little bit here? There's a couple matches before that.
Well, the only person I don't agree with, I know I'm drinking the Kool-Aid over here, but the only person that I don't think should have been as far as they did was Buchanan.
I would agree. Surprising that Bull Buchanan made it that far, although really, honestly, not sure Crash Holly should have been in the quarterfinals either, but I would rather have
I think the
Holly.
Holly won that match.
Yeah. Eddie, you got nothing to add?
no, because he had the only thing I liked about the Trish Stratus, Val Venus, Eddie Guerrero match is what Trish was wearing and what Chyna was wearing. So that's the only thing that mattered.
Of course. All right, so we'll move from there. You got the Fatal 4-Way Elimination match for the WWF Tag Team titles. Edge and Christian would defeat the then champions Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty 2 Hotty, the Hardy Boys with Lita, and of course TNA, Trish Stratus in the corner of Test and Albert. Been a while since I've watched that, but I do remember that was a really good Fatal 4-Way tag team match. I mean, with those teams involved, how could it not be? And it was one of the first times, I believe, that Edge and Christian were tag team champions as well. Might not have been the first, but it was early on, still in their career. So we got Rikishi. We go into the semifinals. Rikishi beats Val Venus, and Kurt Angle beats Crash Holly. So we get Kurt versus Rikishi in the finals. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe would compete in a hardcore evening gown match for the hardcore championship. Eddie, you're laughing, and I know that we had to laugh on that one. These two guys, Patterson and Briscoe, they were in their, I want to say 50s or 60s at that point in time, something like that. And they're coming out there wearing evening gowns for a hardcore match for the hardcore championship. I still remember, it's surprising, I don't want to, but I still remember what those two look like in those gowns. Not something you want to go back and watch. That's for sure.
Pat Patterson looked like one of the glamour girls. Oh my God.
The things Patterson and Briscoe did just to make Vince McMahon happy.
But you got to give it up for Pat Patterson. The man looked really comfortable in the evening gown. You know, I mean, Gerald Briscoe comes out and he looks like, I don't want to say this because it's being rude, but Gerald Briscoe looked like a trailer park hoe.
Well, you're not entirely wrong. But...
Oh man,
John, what are you doing? I figured you were looking up something. I was like, no.
Well, you see, I don't know what happened, but there was some gunshots sounding like, and some cars flying. I'm trying to see what's going on.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, that's fun.
I'm looking at the Muskegon County.
But anyway, Patterson nor Briscoe, either one would walk out of the hardcore evening gown match as champion, as Crash Holly would come out and lead the match as champion. But still, you got that. It's part of it. We move on past that hilariousness. You got D-Generation X, Tori, Road Dogg, and X-Pac defeating the Dudley Boys in a handicap tables dumpster match. There's a mouthful. Handicap tables dumpster match.
Get the dumpster.
Wow. Yeah. So not just get the tables, but get the dumpster. The Dudleys got locked up in the dumpster. I don't even remember that match really. Of course, you got the finals of the King of the Ring tournament, and the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, of course, goes over, beats Rikishi to win the 2000 King of the Ring. Right call, I feel like, there out of the 32 people that were involved in that King of the Ring that year. Kurt Angle definitely was the one to pick to win that King of the Ring tournament. I mean, it'll play into the 2001 King of the Ring as well when we move into that, but we'll get to that eventually. Because this, again, was still early on in Kurt's career.
He still sucks.
And then in the main event, The Rock and the Brothers of Destruction would defeat Mr. McMahon, Shane McMahon, and Triple H in a 6-man tag team match for the WWF Championship, as The Rock would pin, I believe it was Vince, or maybe it was Shane, one of those two, to win the WWF Championship anyways, in one of the weirdest ways for a title to change hands I've ever seen. Never seen a 6-man tag match with the WWF Championship on the line before, or WWE or any other title like that. What was your guys' overall opinions of the King of the Ring tournament and King of the Ring altogether for 2000?
Yeah. Well, at least Kurt Angle won.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked the main event, but it was a clusterfuck, and if you look at it, Undertaker and Kane could have came in the ring, but they just stood outside the ring looking like, oh, so we just let him win? You know,
right.
So they were not doing anything, but but you got to give it hands down because this is the time that Kurt Angle was wearing that silly King of the Ring hat. Crown that they gave him looked like a pumped up pimp outfit.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought this was 4 out of 10. It wasn't really that really good of a King of the Ring.
Right.
I mean, I'm not happy with who won the King of the Ring, but it was the right call at that time. Other than that, it was a good pay-per-view.
Yeah. It's all right. I mean, probably the best thing on that match was really that fatal 4-way match for the tag team titles. If we want to be honest. Though Kurt Angle and Rikishi had a really good match in the finals, but
let me ask you, that match with the fatal 4-way for the tag team titles, wasn't Edge and Christian dressed up like the Los Conquistadors?
I don't think that was in that match. I think that happened on a Monday Night Raw, if I remember right. Or SmackDown, one or two. But yeah, I remember him doing that. All right, move on to 2001, King of the Ring. Be nice to see what you guys think of this one. Okay. So this is the penultimate King of the Ring on pay-per-view. Or the pay-per-view name, I should say. June 24th, 2001, East Rutherford, New Jersey's Continental Airlines Arena. 17,777 people would see the King of the Ring take place. This would go back to our usual 16 men in the tournament. Kurt Angle would beat Hardcore Holly on TV. Jeff Hardy would beat Matt Hardy. Christian would beat Kane. Big Show would beat Raven. Edge beat Test. Steve Blackman lost to Perry Saturn. Crash Holly lost to Tajiri. And Rhino would beat Taz in the qualifying matches. Quarterfinals, Kurt Angle would beat Jeff Hardy with the ankle lock. Christian beat Big Show. Edge beat Saturn. And Tajiri got beat by Rhino.
Okay.
Matt Hardy beat Just Incredible to retain the European title on Heat that night.
Wow.
All right. Oh, I'm not even showing you guys all that stuff. My bad. You guys can look at that bracket. All right. So let's jump into the action real quick. You got the the semifinals rather. You only get the semifinals and finals again this year.
No.
As Kurt Angle would lead off the show, defeating Christian to advance to the finals, and Edge would defeat Rhino. So the one thing you got to take into account as I go into this pay-per-view, Kurt Angle is now going into the finals of the King of the Ring tournament, but Kurt Angle also has another match set up for this King of the Ring show. Of course, the iconic match that he had with Shane McMahon, which we'll dive more into as we get to that match here in a little bit. So Kurt Angle is going to be in 3 matches now at this King of the Ring. So we go from that. You got the Dudley Boys defeating Spike Dudley and Kane to retain the WWF Tag Team titles. Interesting time to have Spike Dudley rivalry with his brothers, of course. Bubba Ray and Devon, and of all people to have Kane with Spike Dudley. They were an interesting tag team, that's for sure. Back then, I remember that. And from there, they'd go into the finals of the King of the Ring tournament, and with a little bit of help from Shane McMahon, who would be, of course, in the match later against Kurt, Edge would defeat Kurt Angle to win the King of the Ring tournament just when it looked like Kurt was going to repeat as King of the Ring. And it was a really good match. I won't say great. I started to, but I won't say it was a great match because Edge and Kurt had better matches down the road. But still, this was a pretty good match, and Edge walks out as your 2001 King of the Ring winner. I'll get you guys' opinions on that after we get through the rest of the show. Jeff Hardy would beat X-Pac to retain the light heavyweight title. Then street fight would happen where Kurt Angle would beat Shane McMahon. We'll talk a lot about that in a moment. Stone Cold Steve Austin would beat Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit in a triple threat match to retain the WWE Championship in the main event.
I'll be right back.
So, yeah, you're good. So, Eddie, talk to me about this King of the Ring tournament. A lot of big names, really, at that point in time were involved in it. Rhinos, the Tajiris, Christian, Edge, Kurt, so on and so forth. Kind of a star-studded tournament compared to what we had the last couple years, really, beforehand.
Most definitely. I thought this King of the Ring, the old one, was well put together. I mean, this was the first King of the Ring that there was no crown involved, that it was a King of the Ring trophy that looked like the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I did. Remember that.
I still think they got it right with Edge beating Kurt Angle, because what Kurt Angle did that night, we'll get into that one. It slowly catapult Edge to the rated R superstar that we have now. I still think he should have stood with WWE because his shit in AEW shit. But it was a good King of the Ring, and also at this King of the Ring, you had the debut of Diamond Dallas Page.
That's true.
As the stalker to Undertaker's then wife, Sarah.
Right. Forgot all about that because it wasn't on the match card. But yes, that was revealed that night.
Yep, and this is right before the so-called WWE invasion with ECW and WCW.
Right. That's for sure. What do you think of this tournament and the overall pay-per-view then, John?
I actually enjoyed this one. And the only booking that I would have done better is, well, not better, but different, is have Kurt Angle lose to Christian and then have that Christian Edge for the King of the Ring. But
yeah,
great job.
I could have seen doing that too, but I felt like the storyline more so was there. I feel like the storyline was more so there. They wanted to make you believe Kurt Angle could repeat, and that's why they went with the way they did. But yeah, it was definitely a really good King of the Ring tournament. The match that I feel like gets talked about most, and rightfully so, from this King of the Ring pay-per-view, of course, was Kurt and Shane, the street fight. As you mentioned, Eddie, Shane would be a big part of that alliance invasion, if you will. But this match, though, between those two, Shane McMahon has such good chemistry with pretty much anybody he steps in there with when you get a match like this, I feel like. You guys might disagree with some of that, but that's my opinion. And Shane and Kurt clicked like that and had one stellar match here. I mean, you can't go without talking about this match without mentioning the glass, of course, that was involved in it. And how Kurt Angle tried to suplex Shane McMahon through the glass wouldn't break. Tries it a second time, the glass still wouldn't break. So Kurt Angle takes Shane by the neck pretty much and tosses the son of a bitch through the glass to finally bust the glass. And then on the other side, suplexes him through the glass. It was insane to see the way that Kurt treated Shane. I mean, look, we're lucky Shane didn't end up more hurt than what he did from all that he went through.
Let's say this: Shane McMahon got his ass beat like a government mule.
Yes.
I mean, the motherfucker went. They had to redo a spot 3 times, and he finally went through. And then the one that was really scary was when Kurt Angle did the Olympic slam off of that board on top of the rope, and plus he did the German suplex and hurt his ass cheek and hurt his bone right in his ass that he said it was hurting him, and he just like got so pissed off and just threw him. I'm like, holy shit, but like you said, I think Shane McMahon could work with. This was a young Shane McMahon. I mean,
right.
The one that really scared me with Shane was the one when he fought Taker in the Hell in a Cell match and went really down hard.
Yeah.
Was it a good match? Yes, but Shane McMahon did some weird, some fucked up shit back then.
That's true. John, what was your thoughts on the Shane McMahon Kurt Angle street fight there? Too busy with something else. Bright light, little city.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, got things to do.
I thought you were into darkness, being a fan of Rhea Ripley.
I mean, I am, but sometimes I have to come out to the light.
So, John, what was your take on the whole Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle street fight that they had at King of the Ring?
Let me take a drink real quick, because you guys are gonna go off on my answer. Well, with it being between 2 people that I despise, I honestly didn't care for it. But I thought it was... I don't even know what I thought.
You don't know what you thought?
No.
There. You're right. We disagree with you. I felt like this kind of helped put a more edgier side to the Kurt Angle gimmick than what we had seen before this, and would lead to the more ruthless version of Kurt Angle that we would see down the line. This is kind of the first glimpse of it, really, that you got.
True.
And he kind of proved here that he's more than just the wrestling machine that we all know and love, that he can get hardcore when need to be. That's my take on it. I thought it was really good.
Going with my idea?
All right, let's move on to the final King of the Ring pay-per-view before we jump into a couple more things King of the Ring wise. Of course, there's been a few King of the Ring since then, and we got to mention those too. This won't be pay-per-views.
Like King Mayonnaise?
Listed by Raw and SmackDown, June 23rd, 2002, from the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Kind of a generic King of the Ring poster. Now, this King of the Ring Of course, feature Raw and SmackDown competitors against each other. We'd have Brock Lesnar beat Bubba Ray Dudley in the first round. Booker T beat William Regal. Hardcore Holly over to Jerry on SmackDown. Hurricane got beat by Test. Chris Jericho beat Edge. Christian lost to the Big Dalboski. Back on Raw, X-Pac beat Goldust. And Eddie Guerrero would lose to Rob Van Dam. In the quarterfinals, you get Brock Lesnar beating Booker T on Raw. Hardcore Holly losing to Test on SmackDown. Chris Jericho beat the Big Dalboski by submission on SmackDown. Forgot to mention, I didn't notice that. Jericho beat Edge by forfeit. So Edge got eliminated. I think he got injured at that point in time.
It was his neck injury.
Yep, legitimate shoulder injury, actually, it says.
Oh, shoulder, okay.
And then back on Raw, Rob Van Dam would be X-Pac to advance to the semifinals. I don't know why they wouldn't have, with Edge having the injury, they should have just had a replacement to face Chris Jericho instead of doing a forfeit there, but who knows why back then. So we jump into 2002, King of the Ring, the pay-per-view, the Sunday Night Heat beforehand. The Hardys would be Raven and Steven Richards, a tag team match. The show kicks off with Rob Van Dam defeating Chris Jericho in the semifinals, and then Brock Lesnar, with Paul Heyman, of course, defeated Test in the other semifinal match. This, of course, being very, very early in the career of Brock Lesnar in the WWF/E. I guess it was WWE at that point. Jamie Noble with Nydia would defeat the Hurricane to become the Cruiserweight Champion of the world. That was actually before the Hurricane would dub it the Cruiserweight Championship of the world. And it's Gregory Helms. The Nature Boy Ric Flair would defeat Eddie Guerrero by pinfall. Surprising. Molly Holly would defeat Trish Stratus to win the Women's Championship that night. Boo. Kurt Angle defeated Hollywood Hulk Hogan by submission. Y'all know Brock beat RVD to win the King of the Ring Championship to earn an undisputed WWE Championship match at SummerSlam. And, of course, in the main event, The Undertaker would defeat Triple H to retain the undisputed championship. A lot to unpack there. This was, of course, the first time ever you see Raw and SmackDown competitors both in the King of the Ring tournament as brand tournament. Big names in there. We know Brock would beat RVD in the finals to earn the championship match. This was after they got rid of the whole alliance thing. Like we said, the first draft had happened before the King of the Ring. Get brand-specific shows, brand-specific pay-per-views would be coming at some point not long after this, I believe. You got the undisputed WWE Championship, though, as the WCW title would be merged with the WWE Championship. The Undertaker at this time as WWE Undisputed Champion was the American Badass version of The Undertaker. So he's coming out on the bike. Really interesting time in WWE at this point in time. Of course, like I said, this was also right after they changed their name to WWE from WWF as well because of the whole World Wildlife Fund situation, if you will, suing them. What did you guys think overall of this tournament and this pay-per-view that had a couple interesting matches, it looked like, on the card?
One thing I would say, I like the brand tournament, but it would have been cooler if the finale had a Raw versus a SmackDown in the actual finale. But other than that, they had two.
Right, instead of Raw versus Raw.
Yeah, but I mean, coming down to Brock versus RVD, that was a hell of a setup. Great match. And all hail King Brock.
Yep.
Right.
I agree with you. I thought it was a great King of the Ring, the last one on pay-per-view. That was really good. Brock deserved it. He didn't get a chance to face The Undertaker at SummerSlam because it was The Rock before he went out to do the Scorpion King.
Right.
And then let's go back before the King of the Ring. This was the first King of the Ring without Stone Cold Steve Austin because he left the company due to have to put over Lesnar in the quarterfinals to qualify.
Right.
He walked out, and then that's where I think you said, who did Brock face in the quarterfinals?
Quarterfinals. Well, it was Booker. In the first round, it was Bubba Ray Dudley, though.
It was supposed to be Austin versus Brock, but Austin didn't want to put him over, so he left the company, and then him and Deborah divorced a couple of months after that because he smacked her around in his hometown of Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good. I think Brock
Different.
needed this. I think Brock needed this, but I still think that The Rock didn't need it. Because The Rock was going off. To me, I thought it would be The Undertaker and Lesnar for the WWE Championship. That would have been a great. That would have been a great feeling. And I remember that SummerSlam because that was still in my home my neck of the woods, so I went to it, and that was the return of Shawn Michaels.
Right. I know. We say that about The Undertaker. I can't go away from saying the match where The Rock did win the championship in July at the pay-per-view was a great match because it was the triple threat match between Taker, Rock, and Kurt Angle, which to me still to this day was probably the greatest triple threat match in WWE history.
Most definitely. That's when Austin was coming back. That's where it would have been nice to see Austin, but the circumstances, he didn't come back until a year later to whoop Eric Bischoff's ass.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. All right. What's mentioned from this card, it said Brock definitely deserved to be King of the Ring. Love Rob Van Dam, but he didn't need it really. Brock did because he was still on the upstart really of his career. This led to his huge rookie year. Kurt Angle getting a victory over Hollywood Hulk Hogan on this show was definitely something going into this King of the Ring. Wasn't what I thought would happen. I mean, Hogan was just coming off his run as the undisputed champion and losing it, of course, to The Undertaker the month before. But it still seemed a little bit surprising to see Hogan get beat by Kurt Angle.
I was very happy that happened.
And by submission. Well, yeah. It just was unexpected, I felt like, at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Especially to see Hogan tap out.
It may have been unexpected, but it was beautiful.
Yes.
You could even say
it was a really good King of the Ring. One could say that. It was a really good King of the Ring for the final King of the Ring pay-per-view, I felt like, anyways. Can't argue with Brock Lesnar. I think Brock is probably one of the top King of the Ring winners of all time, personally. Because the way his career kept going forward and what happened with him at SummerSlam, of course, beating Rock for the title.
And we also, after that, if you look at it, if The Rock didn't win the WWE Championship and then lose to Lesnar and get booed out of the building, we would never have Hollywood Rock.
Actually, yeah, you're right. That is when it all started, of course, with WrestleMania that year because the crowd was kind of 60-40 in the side of Hogan and Toronto Skydome as well. So,
yeah,
but it just did continue at SummerSlam against Rock.
Yeah, and then we had some funny moments as The Rock was doing his shit as the Hollywood Rock, and then you mother Canuckers, you know. You know, I mean, the rock concerts and, you know, what you gonna do? You know.
Right. All right. So now we'll move on past the pay-per-view wise. We'll jump into the first ever and only, I do believe, single-branded King of the Ring tournament, as it would return 4 years later on SmackDown in 2006. We get from April 14th to May 21st, the King of the Ring tournament. You got Kurt Angle beating Randy Orton in the first round by submission. Matt Hardy would get beat by Booker T. Chris Benoit would lose to Finlay. Bobby Lashley, who was brand new to the company pretty much at that point, would beat Mark Henry by countout in the first round. Booker T would bye out of the semifinals right into the finals, as Kurt Angle would forfeit due to an injury, and Finlay would lose to Bobby Lashley in the semifinals, leading to the finals of Bobby Lashley versus Booker T. Of course, Booker T getting the win, as we would get All Hail King Booker. What was your guys' opinion on this King of the Ring tournament that we would see as it made its return after a 4-year absence?
Well, this King of the Ring tournament had quite the booking.
You guys already said it. This King of the Ring tournament was the birth of King Booker. You know, I mean, hands down, I enjoyed it. You know, having Booker T come out with a whole together different character than his usual self. Lacey didn't GI bro it.
Right, exactly. I would say, personally, other than Owen Hart, this was probably Booker would probably have the second best reign, I guess you could say, as King of the Ring. I mean, the guy transformed completely into the King character from winning the King of the Ring tournament, and it led to a world title reign too. So,
yeah, thanks to Chavo Guerrero.
Ooh, yeah.
Chavo. Was it Chavo Batista? I forgot what's the.
Huh?
Was it Chavo that cost Ray, or was Ray not the champion yet?
Yeah, you might be right. You know, you're gonna make me look it up now.
So who cost it?
Chavo Guerrero. I think 06 was it that Ray lost the title due to interference from Chavo Guerrero? Or was it Batista? Or did he beat Batista?
Ooh, Chavo.
Yep, that was Ray. You were right. It's steel chair.
Thank God my memory still remembers that.
Right? I forgot personally. That was what happened. But I remember King Booker being the champion. And of course having his own court too. So
with Finlay and
William Regal.
Was it the Basham brothers a part of that too?
No, because the Basham brothers were with JBL.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
You know, Finlay and William Regal.
Oh God.
And of course, can't forget the Queen either. Queen Sharmell.
Sharmell.
I hated her so much in that gimmick though.
Oh hell, King Booker! Oh hell, King Booker!
But she did her job great because you're supposed to hate that character.
And that's the time that Vince McMahon won the. Was it the time or going down the road that Vince McMahon won the ECW championship. He's like, "What up, my?"
Yeah, it was not too long after. It was a while after that, but because it was Bobby Lashley that he beat for it. But still, Booker was still the champion, I think.
Vince McMahon with a do-rag.
Yeah, we could forget that. In a way, that was almost the start of the beginning of the end for Booker and WWE too, the King of the Ring tournament, because after that whole gimmick and world title reign, when he dropped the title, wasn't too long after that he was gone from WWE.
Yep, and then went to TNA and made the Legends title and joined the Main Event Mafia.
Yep.
Wasn't it the first incarnation of the Main Event Mafia?
Yep, with Stinger, Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, and then who else was in that group?
Because down the line in versions, I believe the current SmackDown GM was a part of it.
Nick Aldis.
Yeah. Also known as Magnus.
Yeah. I can't remember anymore, so I've seen all that, but a long time ago. All right. Move on past 2006 King of the Ring. Then you go into the 2008 King of the Ring, which was held on an episode of Raw, would feature competitors from all three brands all in one night. You got the quarterfinals, Chris Jericho beating MVP with the Walls. CM Punk beat Matt Hardy. Finley with Hornswoggle defeated the Great Khali by DQ. And then William Regal would defeat Hornswoggle by submission in a squash match.
Oh, what the fuck?
I know, right? I remember this King of the Ring very well. So then we move in. Also on that show, that match doesn't matter. It wasn't part of the show. Wasn't part of the tournament. Carlito over Hardcore Holly. CM Punk in the semifinals beat Chris Jericho, and then William Regal would beat Finley by technical submission. So we got William Regal and CM Punk in the finals. And William Regal would beat CM Punk by submission to become the King of the Ring. You clap. I say boo.
No, as a fan, I boo, but think about it. One of the greatest stars to not hold a world title, to be technically gifted, and to have had a wrestling career as long as he has, at least he has King of the Ring to his name.
True. I'll give you that much. But Regal was such a prick, really, at this point in time. If I remember right, he technically was the Raw general manager at this time as well.
Well,
so he
Regal's always been a prick. Just like his son.
Yes, but still. The way it was set up, I mean, having Hornswoggle in the first round, pretty much he put himself there. So, an easy way to King of the Ring victory.
Oh.
Even though he had to go to the finals.
I love the fact that it was Raw versus ECW in the final.
Right? Instead of Raw
the
versus
only
SmackDown
ECW.
He was the only ECW member in this tournament. Huh. That is interesting to note. And Raw only had two people, William Regal and Chris Jericho. SmackDown had 5 guys.
And only one made it to the second round.
Yeah. That was Finley. That's only because one of them had to.
Yeah.
In that match. What'd you think of this whole tournament, Eddie?
Congratulations to William Regal. I mean, he really fought his way through some hard brackets. I mean, man, His match with Hornswoggle went to a 30-minute match. I mean, he really worked his ass off.
Oh man, he sucks. That match took 18. It took him 18 seconds to tap Hornswoggle. It should
Yeah.
have been 5.
Yeah.
What a loser.
It was 18 though.
He must have farted. Oh.
So, I mean, I'm going to mention this because there's been the debate about this, and it's been brought up this year again. The Queen's Crown tournament, which we'll talk a little bit about in a little bit, from 2021, the women didn't get hardly any time whatsoever for their matches. You look at this King of the Ring tournament, the longest match was 6 minutes and 21 seconds between Jericho and Punk. The shortest, of course, the 18 seconds between Regal and Hornswoggle. So is it really something new? Is it really something new for a tournament for WWE to do something like that?
No. Not
I'm
really.
just saying the people at the Queen's Crown tournament, just look at past the other King of the Ring tournaments. They've been short matches at times in tournaments too. So it happens. I will say though, it is surprising. Somebody mentioned on Twitter, I think it was, or X. I guess you got to call it X because it's even X.com now. The match between Lyra Valkyria and Io Sky this past Monday night was longer than all of the Queen's Crown matches combined. So there's that. We'll get more into that in a few minutes, though.
Speaking of Io Sky, how much Hennessy does she drink before she does her entrance? I had a coworker show me a TikTok today about it.
One last thing about William Regal winning the 08 King of the Ring. They didn't really do much with him as King of the Ring after that, but like you said, John, at least he can say he was King of the Ring. What a crowning achievement he has, besides a former Intercontinental and European champion in WWE anyway. In tag.
Was he ever world champion in WCW?
No.
No, we were close.
I think he was only in WCW. I could be wrong. I think he was a tag team title with the Blue Bloods and then the World Television Champion.
That was back when he was Lord Steven Regal, right?
Yeah.
Finally, King Mayonnaise.
I remember for sure if he ever won the U.S. title or not.
I think he did. I think he lost it to Prince Iakea.
That could be.
No offense to Finley, but now we can talk about the best Irish star.
What, a Regal? Oh.
So let's get this straight.
So
look up on the thing when you go to Sheamus. Please do know that the King of the Ring was located in the United States. Right here when you go down here.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, location, United States. Like, oh, really? It was?
I thought Philadelphia was in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right. Right? But anyway, a few years after William Regal won the King of the Ring tournament, we go into the 2010 King of the Ring. Raw and SmackDown both in there. No more ECW at this point. Got Sheamus beating R-Truth in the qualifying round. Kofi Kingston beat Jack Swagger. This was still when Kofi was doing the Jamaican accent, by the way, for anybody who remembers that. Drew McIntyre beat MVP. Ezekiel Jackson, the ECW champion, defeated Alex Riley. John Morrison beat Tyson Kidd. Cody Rhodes beat Rey Mysterio. Alberto Del Rio beat The Big Show by a countout, and Daniel Bryan submitted Ted DiBiase. What were you saying, John?
What Ezekiel Jackson beating Little Miz.
Oh, yeah. The Little Miz, yeah, I got you. Of course, the quarterfinals, you'd see Sheamus beat Kofi Kingston. Drew McIntyre and Ezekiel Jackson would compete for 2 minutes and 42 seconds to a double countout. And John Morrison would beat Cody Rhodes, while Alberto Del Rio would beat Daniel Bryan with the armbreaker. Armbar, whatever. Sheamus gets a bye to the finals to the double countout. John Morrison beats Alberto Del Rio to make it to the finals. And then Sheamus beat John Morrison to win the King of the Ring tournament. So, quite the interesting tournament here. I know it's cutting off a couple people there because I won't go all the way full screen, but
I mean, there was quite a bit of talent in that tournament, but there was also some not so talented people.
True. So, to me personally, when you look at this first round, even I'd say for the most part they got it right, other than a couple. I would say maybe you should have had it. That's tough to say. You say Alex Riley over Ezekiel Jackson or not? Because Alex Riley, I feel like was the more of the... Go ahead, Jan.
I mean, the only way you could do it is, no offense to Alex Riley's in-ring abilities, but the only way you could really do it if it's either a DQ or a count out. I don't see A-Rye, pinning or submitting Ezekiel.
I could see him pinning him off of a Miz getting involved and hitting him with the title or something, but still, or the briefcase. I think at that point he was still the Money in the Bank winner. So
yeah,
I think November 22nd. Well, I can't remember the exact day the date that he beat Randy for the world title. So for the WWE title, I should say. But still, I could have seen Miz helping A-Ride to defeat him. Other than that, maybe having Ray beat Cody, since Cody was still early on in his career. I would have went with Big Show over Del Rio, though. That's for damn sure.
You mean back when Cody was really a crybaby?
Yeah, you can put it that way.
Not his most dashing moment.
But then, how do you have Drew and Ezekiel go to a double countout in the second round when we could have had Drew versus Sheamus in the semifinals? Yes, I know that was a much different Drew McIntyre back then than what we have today, but still.
The chosen one.
Yes, he was the chosen one. We should have had him win and go on to face Sheamus in the semis. That's my opinion, anyway.
Because you can't be trusted.
Well, we know it wasn't going to be a banger of a banger because it'd just be a burger and a burger.
Sure. But anyways, I like that they had Sheamus win the King of the Ring there. I mean, yes, he had already been WWE champion before that, but he still was really newer at that point, and it helped elevate him more, I feel like, character-wise, being the King of the Ring at that point.
What do you mean? It should have been, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Elite, Johnny Impact, whatever the hell Johnny's going to be.
Johnny Drip Drip.
I mean, I would have been fine with John Morrison winning the King of the Ring.
Johnny Terra Valkyries little
bitch. Right?
Still to this day, Sheamus said he hated being King of the Ring.
I could see why he might have hated the crown and the outfit he had to wear, but at least he can put King of the Ring as on his resume, which a lot of people can't.
I know, but he said he liked it, but he didn't like the way they dress him. Like, I always thought he looked like Braveheart.
Yeah, kind of in a way. All right, so we move from there. They'd go 5 years before the next King of the Ring. 2015 King of the Ring, it was a WWE Network special. So technically it was its own show. Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Moline, Illinois. It was a 2-night special. The Resch Center, Wireless Center. 8 guys would be part of this, as we got in the first round, Ziggler getting beat by Bad News Barrett. R-Truth defeated Stardust. Dean Ambrose would get beat by Sheamus by disqualification. And Neville would beat Luke Harper. What, Neville beating Luke Harper?
No. Dean losing.
No. Oh. I figured. Yeah, Dean should have won, but they have the current champion lose out in the first round. Like they had before. That was actually on an episode of Raw. Then the night after, the semifinals and finals happened on the WWE Network special. Bad News Barrett in the semifinals would beat R-Truth, and Sheamus would get beat by Neville to lead to Neville and Bad News Barrett in the finals. As we'd get King Barrett out of that. Interesting that they only had 8 guys when they're doing 2 different shows based around this. Not the greatest, I would say, necessarily tournament that they've done for the King of the Ring. But hey, we got King Barrett out of it.
Yeah, that was some bad news.
Right?
I would have, and this is just me, I would have had Mr. Brody Lee beat Neville and have him and Sheamus go with it.
Right?
That would have been a great match.
So I think I kind of agree with John there. I think personally, Sheamus at this point didn't need it. He didn't need to move on past first round. Dean Ambrose should have been the one to go to the finals. And personally, I think Dean Ambrose should have won this King of the Ring tournament. But
thank you.
Yeah.
Out of these 8 guys, that's who I would put. I would have done Dean and Harper in the semifinals and then had Dean beat. I personally would have had Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler in the finals out of those 8 guys. That's me, though.
I mean, I don't care who would have won the top part. It should have been Dean all the way to the end, period. Don't matter.
Fair.
Well, wait till you hear what I got to say about the next one.
Uh-oh. So 4 years later, we'd get to the 2019 King of the Ring. Oh, boy. Knoxville, Tennessee. This would go across Raw and SmackDown. As we have brands again for this King of the Ring tournament. We kick off. Monday Night Raw has Cesaro get beat by Samoa Joe by submission, the Coquina Clutch. Ricochet beats Drew McIntyre. Cedric Alexander beats Sami Zayn. There's your first shocker, early. Maybe second, because Drew, you would have thought, would have beaten Ricochet, but Miz would get beat by Corbin, and then over on SmackDown, Kevin Owens gets beat by Elias. Shouldn't have happened. Ali beats Buddy Murphy. Chad Gable. It says Chad Gable, but if I remember correctly, he was Shorty G at that point in time.
He was dang well Shorty G.
Defeats Shelton Benjamin, and Apollo Crews gets beat by Andrade. And then the second round, we see Samoa Joe and Ricochet go to a 16-minute time limit draw. Cedric Alexander gets beat by Baron Corbin on Raw, and then on SmackDown, Elias beats Ali and Chad Gable beats Andrade. Here's where the fun comes in. The semifinals, because of the draw, we don't get a bye. No. We get a triple threat match as Samoa Joe, Ricochet, and Baron Corbin compete against each other, which leads to Corbin winning and going to the finals of the King of the Ring. And Shane McMahon substitutes himself into this match in Elias's spot, but he gets beat by Shorty G, aka Chad Gable, whatever you want to call him, by submission to lead to Chad Gable and Baron Corbin in the finals, giving us King Corbin out of all that bullshit, really. Go ahead, John, unless you want Eddie to take first.
All right. So, the first issue here, bum-ass little bitch boy Corbin should not have been anywhere near the finals. If you wanted to book the best King of the Ring, story-wise, it should have been Ricochet versus Shorty G.
Yeah, they both were pretty over.
The technical Shorty G with the high-flying Ricochet be an amazing match. And everyone would want Ricochet to win, but I'm sorry. The King of the Ring that year should have been Shorty G. He had the story. He went through all the different obstacles. And then you have him lose to Corbin. WWE, what the hell are you doing? It should have been King Shorty G.
I agree.
Yeah, I like John's exception. I think it's right. Like, bum ass Corbin should have never won.
Yeah. Like I said, what the hell was the crap between doing a triple threat match because there was a time limit draw or a draw of whatever reason? It's just stupid. First of all, and then to have Shane McMahon put himself in there in the place of Elias as well in the semifinals. Just all kinds of baloney.
Okay, so the triple threat match, was this right by the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase?
No.
I'm just wondering because did somebody have to fake an injury to move to the finals?
Well, the thing I'm wondering is you
okay, I got more information.
You take the bye, like you make the draw not happen and make it a triple threat, but you still have the same person win it that would still go through if it was a bye. That makes no sense. If you're making a triple threat, then you would want either Samoa Joe or Ricochet to get the win in the triple threat because you're just pretty much handing it to Corbin either way, and that's stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
So apparently, there's more to this. I forgot all about this. That Elias Kevin Owens first round match on Shane McMahon made himself the special guest referee during the match. Keep in mind, this was 2019, so Shane McMahon was the commissioner, I do believe, still at that point in time, of Friday Night SmackDown. So he had his issues with Kevin Owens at that point as well. The Samoa Joe Ricochet match ended in a draw because it was a double pinfall with both men advancing to the semifinals for a double pinfall instead of just being a draw. That was a triple threat match. Elias was forced to withdraw from the tournament due to suffering an ankle injury, and Shane made himself his replacement. And then Shane made the match with Shorty G, a 2 out of 3 falls match after first losing to Shorty G.
And then didn't he fire KO?
Well, he made Kevin Owens a special guest referee in the third part in that match too, between him and Shorty G. And yes, I think it did lead to him firing Kevin Owens too. So this was pretty much towards the end of the Shane McMahon run.
Is this when, if I'm wrong, is this when Shane McMahon was a heel and he was just coming off the Saudi Arabia greatest of all time tournament?
I think so. I think he had just won that not too long before. or win it not too long after, one or the other. This was the very heel dick version of Shane McMahon. The overpowered Shane McMahon, if you will.
Because the Miz is in there too, and he lost. If you look at it, Miz lost to Corbin, so he must have interfered because they had that match.
The Shane was over on SmackDown, and Miz and Corbin's match was on Raw.
But Shane, Shane didn't care about that. He could go everywhere he wanted.
I didn't say that Shane did, but still. This is when Shane kind of was in charge at points. I don't know. It was just a crappy booking all around anyways. We'll move past the 2019 atrocious one to the not quite as bad 2021. 2 years later, King of the Ring. And then we'll talk about the Queen's Crown afterwards. I gotta look that one up. So, the 2021 King of the Ring tournament also had 8 individuals, 4 from Raw, 4 from SmackDown. As we had SmackDown, Rey Mysterio would lose to Sami in the first round. Finn Balor would beat Cesaro. Then over on Raw, Xavier Woods would beat Ricochet, and Kofi Kingston would lose to the modern-day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal. Sammy would get beat by Finn Balor in the semifinals on SmackDown, and Xavier Woods would beat Jinder Mahal on Raw to lead to the finals, which took place, of course, at Crown Jewel, October 21st, 2021, where the Queen's Crown tournament finals would be as well. We'd get the amazing finals between Xavier Woods and Finn Balor. I personally going in, I believe we did, John and I maybe, or Busta and I, one or the other, did a prediction show for this going in, and I'm sure I did at that point say I thought Finn Balor was going to win, and still to this day I'm surprised Finn Balor lost this match to Xavier Woods, even though Woods was always Woods' dream to be King of the Ring. So.
And who got that match right?
Yeah, I'm sure you did. But still, it was an amazing finals between Woods and Balor.
I would have been, I watched this match. To me, I actually thought Finn Balor was going to win because it says in the name King. In his Twitter account, it actually says King. The Prince. I mean, I thought it'd be nice to have him win the title, but Woodsy deserved it.
Yep, Woodsy deserved to win King of the Ring and then have Roman break his crown.
Yep.
That's what happened.
And that was a shitty King of the Ring crown. This year's was way better than the one they had in 21.
Yes.
I will say.
Yes, I agree.
Since the actual King of the Ring pay-per-view tournament and all that, King Woods probably one of the more underrated since then.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that.
Was it at this time that Big E was the WWE champion?
Was he? Yeah, I think that was around the same time he was the champion. It was towards the end of 2021. All right. And, of course, as well as the King of the Ring, we had the Queen's Crown tournament that year. At the same time, you have Zelina Vega defeating Toni Storm on SmackDown in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Liv Morgan got beat by Carmella in 1:40. On Raw, Dana Brooke lost to Shayna Baszler in 1:25. And Piper Niven beat Natalya in 3 minutes.
Hey.
And then in the semifinals,
Doudrop.
I do not say that name. That name no longer exists. Even if she did make it to the finals, is that. Zelina Vega would beat Carmella on SmackDown in the semifinals. Shayna in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Shayna Baszler would lose to Niven in 2:45, and then that would lead to the finals at the Crown Jewel of Queen Zelina being born, and she gets the win in 5:55, the longest match in the tournament. You're shaking your head.
First thing needs to be said. Carmella sucks. Liv Morgan should have won that match. But besides that, I'm sorry. Doudrop. It should have been Queen Doudrop. The best thing that Eva Marie did for the company is bring in her bodyguard.
Yes, but she never should have had that name.
Well, she should have still been queen.
I agree. I'm glad she didn't, though, because of the name that she had.
Could you imagine? All rise for Queen Doudrop. Just rolls off the tongue.
Sure. Eddie, what's your take on it?
Bro, first of all, I'm very proud of one of my native New Yorkers, Selena Vega, winning the Queen of the Ring tournament. But hands down, I would have went with Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, I personally think I would have too. Or actually, no, I wouldn't have.
My pick for the finals would have been Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan.
Nah, Shayna versus Tony.
Natalia versus Tony would have been mine.
But could you imagine that second round, Shayna versus Natalia?
Yeah, that would have been really good. Would have been better than what we got. No offense, but that's what we got out of it. It's Queen Zelina. Unfortunately, she hasn't really done a whole lot since then in the last 3 years. I mean, as Queen Zelina, she was tag team champions with Carmella, of course. But
and then she got released.
Really, that Queen. And then came back. And just hasn't really done much for her. Let's hope that the first ever Queen of the Ring will have a much better fate. That's what we've had so far for King of the Ring, and then that one Queen's Crown tournament. I do want to talk a little bit more about more stuff. It'll be King of the Ring related as well, but other things outside of it too, because there was some news that dropped today, WWE wise. They did some special show over in Saudi, I guess, today. I didn't catch it, but I've seen the stuff on social media about it. The winner of this year's King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournament will receive world title matches at SummerSlam. Triple H announced today. So,
okay, that just pretty much gave us who's going to win it.
Did it though? Because I could easily see Gunther getting a world title match at SummerSlam, and I could also see Randy Orton getting a WWE title match at SummerSlam.
And I could also see them if they keep the title on Becky and Lyra wins, getting Becky versus Lyra again.
Well, Nia Jax has her issues with Bayley though too.
Yeah,
Already.
but
so is it really that easy to predict?
Well, I mean, I'm talking more the Nia Bianca match.
Well, I feel like because Lyra went on, it's definitely going to be Nia to win over that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That match. So,
but that Lyra Io Sky match was beautiful.
It was. And it was.
It made me believe in women's wrestling again.
It did.
They had a really good match, that's for sure. Like I said, they mentioned it was longer than all the Queen's Crown tournament matches put together. So, time-wise.
Yeah, it was also like 50 million times longer than Drew McIntyre's WrestleMania run.
Burn! That's okay. Drew will get his time to shine, if you will, soon. So,
Ooh, I got a fantasy booking for that, by the way.
oh,
Could you imagine Clash at the Castle, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, and right before Drew McIntyre is about to win, you hear it. You hear the anthem. Eddie knows exactly what I'm talking about. You hear it. Say his name, and he appears.
I
Believe in Joe Hendry. And
Man.
it cost Drew the title, and then Drew is gone.
Me and John talked about this on Sunday.
Yeah.
I think that Joe Henry should be in the WWE and do that gimmick. I think it would be way over, and you don't have to do it at a bingo hall.
right?
The clapping, the pop. I mean, it is a perfect WWE gimmick.
But the problem is when they let him keep his name.
Probably not.
Oh, that'd be like.
I mean, he might.
I mean, it would be like Adam Rose combined with No Way Jose, but actually good.
I did see Joe Hendry at one point was one of the Adam Rosebuds. So.
And picture this, like we saw that thing with Queen Selena. Who ever think that Toni Storm was in there? What happened if she would have had that gimmick of Timeless in WWE?
I mean, even if they would have kept her gimmick that she had really in NXT UK instead of just doing nothing with her for the most part, I think that she would have went further than what she did in WWE. But for some reason, Vince apparently didn't see in Toni Storm what us viewers did.
No.
I mean, who can ever beat the wonderful Toni Storm gimmick? You know, chin up, tits out.
And watch for the shoe.
One of the only good things about AEW, really.
And I did watch her counteract with Selena, with Sarah D. Oh my!
Serena Deeb.
Serena D. Sarah D. Dean Malenko's daughter. I swear to God, she has no mic skills.
Yeah, Serena Deeb can't talk.
You want to know why she doesn't have any mic skills? Because no one told her that it wasn't open mic night, bitch.
Perhaps.
She is horrible on the mic. It's like, don't talk. Get somebody else to do it.
Yeah,
right?
But at least she's not totally annoying like a certain NXT superstar. Hi, I'm Ariana Grace, and I just want to say...
I can't wait to see who's going to...
How dare you treat Santino's daughter that way? Jeez.
Is it Santino's daughter or is it Santina's daughter? That's the question.
I can't wait to see who Roxanne's going to face at Battleground.
You know, I just realized how badass my wife is.
I hear. Yeah?
Yeah. Let me show you real quick. So while I'm doing a podcast with you, she's getting us air conditioning.
Nice. I didn't even notice you got sunglasses on top of your head too.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's all right. I didn't say nothing. I'm just saying, oh, he really looks good in them.
Right.
So who you think is going to be the mystery opponent for Roxanne?
rumor has it that NXT wants Tegan Knox. So
Yeah, take her.
I think it's going to be someone that people really want. It's going to be coming off injury, and no, it's not who you think I'm insinuating. Because as much as I love Nikita, it's not going to be Nikita. But I feel like it could be a certain
Cora Jade.
Generational, meaning the generation of Jade returning.
now, I don't think that's going to happen because from what I've seen, yeah, she made an appearance at the live event last weekend, but supposedly she's still several months away from being cleared.
All right, here's another thing.
That's what they want you to think.
What do you think? Maybe it's Mandy Rhodes.
I don't think they'll bring her back yet.
You want to know what? Boston has a better chance to win the World Series than Mandy Rose returning to WWE.
That's true because nobody wants to see it.
I was expecting him to say that about the Yankees more so than the Red Sox, but hey.
Well, no, because the Yankees have a better shot at winning the World Series.
They do right now, anyways.
But the season is still young, so let those fireworks go now. We still got a long season to go.
It's all right, baby boy. We split the 4-game set with the Seattle Mariners. It's all good. I'm in a great mood. My boys are playing good. It smiles all around.
Let me ruin this then.
I
So
know
how'd you guys do in the playoffs last season?
I don't care. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't know what happened. I have seizure disorder, so I don't remember a lot of stuff.
Okay, well let me ask you this, because this happened last night. What the hell happened with your Rangers?
I'm not even a Ranger fan.
Excuse me, Sunday when we were talking, you asked the score about the Knicks game. And then when you heard the Knicks were going to lose, you was like, oh, at least we still got the Rangers.
I'm not into hockey, but it's nice to see a team in there, but I'm not really into hockey.
Man, they were playing like some bitches last night.
I know. When you have a week off, man, it takes a lot on you.
Florida came to play. Holy crap.
I know.
I've never seen Micah Zibanejad and Panarin on their ass half the game.
Yeah. But speaking of another thing with wrestling, you heard about SummerSlam.
Yep.
I just don't understand why they're not doing it next year.
Yeah, really. They announced it for 2026 to be happening 2 nights.
And of all places, Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
that means you know that SummerSlam, that WrestleMania is not going to be in Minnesota.
Yeah.
No, in 2026. Ain't it supposed to be Detroit?
No,
there was rumors. There was rumors of that, and then there was the people in Detroit came out and said that they haven't put a bid in for it. So we'll see.
Just know, if WrestleMania comes to Detroit, we're doing the show live at Mania. We are going to figure a way to do it. Our prediction show is going to be at Mania if it's in Detroit.
Picture is going to Detroit and doing it at the WrestleMania Access. Going through, we're here at the Access, like.
And of course, we're going to be in Detroit, so we got to get some good old Coney dogs.
or Mom Spaghetti.
Oh yeah, Mom Spaghetti. We got to get some Mom Spaghetti too.
It'll be fun.
Have Eminem open the show off. Be just like the draft.
They wouldn't just have Eminem though.
Oh, I know.
Can't have wrestling in Detroit.
Yeah, could you imagine having like all those big wrestlers that are from Michigan? Like, I get that there might be some that are under contract or you don't want them because of their drugs because they think that's the whole effing show. But I mean, what about Rhino?
Right.
The Steiner brothers.
Yeah.
I know there's more. I'm just not that good at naming all this crap. George the Animal Steel. He's probably dead though.
He is.
Okay. He'll be there in spirit. At least I'm not like the Bella twins. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to see Vader.
When I was reading something that Detroit is trying to get WrestleMania to mark the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania 3, and then they're trying to get the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania 23. They're trying to make it into like one big celebration.
Yeah, I've read rumors of that, and then supposedly afterwards, people from in Detroit said that they weren't doing it. So
It would have been nice. It would have been nice to mark the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania 3. I mean, that really skyrocketed WWE to what we're at now.
Right. So this is the first of 2 nights we'll be on here, guys. Of course, tomorrow night we'll be on after Friday Night SmackDown, so it'll be a little later than this. Because Saturday morning, afternoon, starts some stuff in the morning. But 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, of course, the King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view, premium live event, if you will. Meaning we'd either have to get up early to do a prediction show or we'd have to do it tomorrow night. And, we all know we'd rather do it tomorrow night than get up early. So, should be a fun time. With that said, of course, we've got through to the SummerSlam for our predictions right now. And we all went 5-0 at Backlash. So we'll see how things go with King and Queen of the Ring. As this is how we started off the year with the Royal Rumble as well. So, but this time, instead of we're still just doing the 3, we've got these 2 premium live events. We still got, of course, Clash at the Castle coming up in 3 weeks after this. And then you got Money in the Bank. You got SummerSlam. So we got 5 premium live events altogether we'll be doing predictions for to lead to the shirts this time. Who knows how many exactly between SummerSlam and Survivor Series. I don't think they've announced quite all of them yet, but it'll be probably about 4. So we'll see what happens. And yes, John, we see you got your one shirt from Eddie there. I've got your shirt from me here still. We just got to figure out when and where to meet up to get that to you.
Sounds good.
Yo, he came into my house. He's like, "Where's my shirt, bitch?" I'm like, first of all, I was like, "Well, hi." It was like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And then he asked me. It's from when John comes over. People, he comes over. He's like, "How the fuck do I get on? I got the season pass. I can't get CM Punk and all the other shit."
No, I can get CM Punk. I couldn't get the Fiend without doing the whole showcase crap.
Yeah, I said, yeah, just get the season pass. I got him all before that.
Yeah.
Only thing I had to get was the damn WrestleMania Funhouse or WrestleMania Arena. That's the only thing I had to get. But I'm like, oh, that's simple. Just go there, do that, then I'm done.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten through the one WrestleMania match on the WrestleMania Showcase. So
You haven't got through WrestleMania 13?
no, I still haven't been able to get through that. I've tried it so many times. I can't get Austin to pass out for nothing, no matter what I do.
I just hit him with
finished
a chair.
Yeah, I've
Warrior
done that.
and Hawk.
Every chair. You're stuck with Warrior and Hawk?
No, I just finished that one.
Oh, you just finished that one?
I was stuck on the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude for a while.
That one took me about 2 or 3 tries, I think, at least.
Took me like 7.
It didn't take me that many.
Like I have it. Like I to the last objective, I have it, and
Yeah.
then clothesline crazy Ultimate Warrior, and so are you kidding me? Every time it's right there, and
Yeah, the one that gets me is Savage and Steamboat.
I got that one on the first try. I was proud of myself.
I got it once, and then my power went out. Like, you motherfucker.
It's funny you say that because on the Andre and Hulk one, my controller died mid-match.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's me for Brett and Stone Cold. I get to that final objective, and I just can't get Austin to pass out for nothing.
And
some of these objectives are like insane.
Yeah, and you look at Ken Shamrock in that submission match. His face looks so crunched up like this.
It does too.
Yeah. Hell, I got Ken Shamrock and Kurt Angle as my tag team champions.
Do ya?
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting tag team.
So I do the first 4 of hot water.
So, you guys happy with how quickly I got that cipher done on Monday?
That was
pretty impressive.
Speaking
of that,
I just wish it hurries up so we could get these guys on the roster. I'm like, hurry up! Stop showing these codes.
It's happening. It's happening on Saturday. It's happening.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, I think 100%.
Telling Eddie before the show there was something on WWE's WhatsApp yesterday. It was supposed to be on their WhatsApp, maybe even their Facebook Messenger or whatever. The Uncle Howdy and whatever all else this is was doing something Bray Wyatt related today. At 8 o'clock tonight they were. I haven't seen it because we were busy here, but we'll see what that includes. But it's supposed to be involved with everything that's going down Uncle Howdy wise right now. And the Wyatt, whatever, 6 or family or whatever they're going to call this.
Oh, you mean with Bo, Alexa, Nikki, Eric, Dexter, and Joe?
Yes, that. As long as Alexa's a part of it, things that say she is and things that say she ain't. So
Alexis has to be a part of it. I mean, Nikki makes more sense, but Alexa was the original with the Fiend. The original turn on the Fiend. Alexa has got to be part of it. And let me tell you, who has Alexa dressed up as? Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was the therapist of the Joker. And the therapist that went missing, Wendy Lucho, was the therapist of Bray Wyatt.
True. The Fiend. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully sooner than later. I like how they've started to mention the whole QR codes on TV, though.
Yep.
The announcer stuff. That pretty much tells you that it's getting close to being revealed, I feel.
Yeah, that's why I think it's happening at Saudi. It might not be the whole thing. It might just be Uncle Howdy being there. But I think something to do with that group is going to happen at Saudi. And then you're going to find out with what happens at Saudi, what brand they're going to be on.
So my question is it going to be Uncle Howdy, though, do you think? Or is it going to be Bo Dallas?
I think it's going to be a brand new character you're not expecting.
That could
I think it's going to be Fiend, a Bray Fiend, but in Taylor's head.
Maybe something like that.
Like the little bro, like saying like the Fiend was in control. You have like the whole Uncle Howdy was controlling the Fiend and all that. But what if Uncle Howdy wasn't?
Yep.
What if there was another creature controlling the Fiend, and that's what you're going to see?
Be interesting.
One thing I worry about the Wyatt 6, and it's a good thing. I worry about people miss Bray so much. Is WWE trying to portray them as a heel group or as a face? Because you know the fans are going to cheer them because Bray was this miracle, and I hope that they figure it out because this has to work and not let them just sit there.
I agree with that.
Well, from what I've heard, because like watching the documentary, there was little hints about how wasn't the exact words, but basically like Taylor was saying with the whole it has to continue. But
Right.
the only way to continue is you gotta have if you're trying to keep somewhat to the same creative and story, you have to have someone that was with Bray, someone that knows Bray. Who knows better than a brother than the other brother, right?
Right.
So, and just the thing that they're gonna, and supposedly they're giving giving Taylor the same creativity, letting him run stuff because he knows how his brother would do it. So it's like, yes, it's not the exact same that you would expect out of Bray, but it's still close because who was with Bray that entire time? Might have not been wrestling, but who was also creative with him? Who was he bouncing ideas off of? It was Taylor. So they're letting Taylor run it, and I feel like that's the first step right there. You're having someone who knows what's going on, someone who knows how the story is going to work, and you have not that quite same creative spark, but very close to it. And if they did anyone else doing creative for it, it would have been like, why? You should just let it lie. But
Right.
with what they're doing, I can't wait to see how this turns out because I'm so excited for it, and just for the whole story, it's what WWE needs right now. I mean, it's been good, but it's been like something's been missing since Bray passed, and now you're starting to feel that energy back, like when Bray was on, and all the White Rabbit clues. I guess in this case, all the Raven clues, and
Right.
it's pulling all those people that kind of stepped back after that happened, and it's pulling them right back in. And it is time for, like Triple H said, it's a new era. It's a new version of Wyatt. The only difference, it's Bo, not Bray. But it's the same creative spark. And it's going to be amazing when it finally hits.
And the other thing I'm going to bounce off of that, this will be Bo Dallas's best work because his gimmicks that he had before were shit.
Well, he was a jobber.
I feel like this will help him not just honor his brother because I think isn't Bray's 1 year anniversary coming up?
Yeah.
Wasn't it just his birthday?
Today is his birthday.
It's going to be and WWE needs a new, fresh group to come in. The bloodline is starting to get a little. Well, it's been stale, but with Tama Tonga and Tonga Leone and Solo doing it, but we need another group that could bring back fresh faces.
Well, it's funny you mention that because you have all these guys coming in, but they're on SmackDown, so it makes me think that they're going to lean more towards this Wyatt group being on Raw. And with like certain clue packages, like one line in particular, you stole the Fireflies. And everyone deciphered that as Jey Uso. Because what happens when he comes out and eats his little body off, just like McAfee? But what happens? The Fireflies come out and are there doing it.
John's gonna eat them.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then you got to think like other clues, like then you have like all the John Cena clues. John Cena ain't in the company right now. But like I was saying before, who is the John Cena of this current generation?
Cody.
So
Yep,
could it be Cody be the one? But then you also listen to their thing. We were never the chosen ones. Now you look back from when the QR code started this time, and every superstar at some point was the chosen one. Gable when he was Shorty G, he had a QR code. Xavier Woods QR code with him and Kofi. Kofi was the chosen one. I mean Kofi Mania. QR code is coming on Cody, on Drew. I mean, it's all people at some point were chosen ones. Even Ricochet has had a QR code.
Yeah, I agree with you with that part. And and hands down, I think that the YH6 will grow because, to my opinion, I think R-Truth's going to join.
Well, R-Truth thinks he's a part of everything.
Yeah.
True.
Remember, he's older than his childhood hero.
Most definitely. I mean, hell,
Right.
he spoke to Andre the Giant.
Well, there's that. All right. We could sit here and talk about the Wyatt family and everything else under the sun, but we're almost at 3 hours here, so I'm thinking we're going to cut this off. Like I said, we'll be back on here again tomorrow night. Much shorter show. We've only got 5 matches currently announced for the King and Queen of the Ring. Who knows if they'll add more tomorrow. Of course, SmackDown will be taped in Saudi tomorrow. Earlier in the day, it'll air live at 8. Well, not live, but still, it'll be on at 8 o'clock here as usual. Good to know that Raw and SmackDown and NXT will all stay on their same nights when they move networks at the beginning of next year. Raw will be staying on USA Network until the end of this year. That has been announced. I haven't mentioned that in the podcast last week. But one more thing before we go, though. This one's out to all the subscribers of Tiger Talks Wrestling. Big thank you to everybody. And I was going to mention this last week. I forgot to. We have just surpassed 250 subscribers. So I thank you all for that. Let's hope to get up to 300 subscribers, hopefully. Not sooner than 250 took to get to 250, but I appreciate your guys' support. Appreciate both of you guys for being on here, as always.
Most definitely, and I ran out of fireworks to celebrate.
Apparently.
Tony, cut your budget again.
Oh, there it is.
There it goes.
There it is.
You mentioned I cut his budget, so I had to give it back to him.
Damn right, yeah.
And with that said, we'll catch you guys tomorrow night. Everybody have a great night.
See ya.